And welcome back, everyone, to Global Marketing Day. We are definitely deep in it now. The coffee pots have been reloaded and we're ready for another session. My name is Ross Tavendale. I'm the Managing Director of Type A Media. If you'd like to follow along with us on Twitter, you can use the hashtag Global Marketing Day or go to globalmarketingday.com to get involved in the chat. Now, we have another amazing session lined up for you. Today, we have Melanie Linehan with us. Hi, Melanie. How are you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good. She's a product marketing manager at WeTransfer, and today we're going to be talking about how to bring values of trust, transparency, and ethics online. Melanie's a leader in growth stage product marketing with over 10 years of marketing experience. I'm definitely the noob on the panel looking at all of you guys. So I'm really interested to hear what you've got to say today. Joining Melanie after the presentation, we have Dr. Dave Shafi, co-founder of Smart Insights, and I understand the author of 5 best-selling books.
Yes, that's right. I've helped marketers learn best practices in digital marketing. That's my thing. The first one was published in 2000, and we've now just launched the 7th editions of some of them. So every 3 years for 20 years, it feels like.
Wow, that's
amazing. It's great to meet people who say, I've used your books and they've really helped me in my career and my qualifications.
Yeah, I bet.
Helping people.
When I read that, I was like, you've wrote 5 best-selling books. I'm not sure if I've read 5 books, if I'm completely honest. We've also got Chris Green. Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, fantastic. Chris is at Footprint Digital, and he's working with international brands from SMEs, one-man bands, all the way up to much larger enterprises, specialising in technical SEO, but also able to go cross-channel into link building and paid and content marketing and even analytics.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So we'll call you the marketing savant for this particular session.
Yeah, if the shoe fits, I'll try and wear it.
So, Melanie, over to you. We're really excited to hear what you've got to say.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me, and thank you for joining me as well. I wanted to really just start by introducing myself, as you did so well already. I recently moved to Amsterdam from Los Angeles, so I traded my 4 wheels for 2. I'm very happy to say that that was a nice transition. But we're here not to talk about me, but we're here to talk about WeTransfer. And WeTransfer was started about 10 years ago. It's crazy to think already that I've been out of university that long as well. But they were actually created to replace couriers, if you can believe it or not, to actually deliver large transfers or files in a way that we previously had to, if you recall USBs, we had to actually rely on something like that to physically get a large creative file from one place to the other. And one thing that's really wonderful about WeTransfer is that it actually was built by creatives, for creatives, in the way of being able to deliver that. Today, we've obviously grown from that one little production shop to over 50 million users a month. And so that's a really profound growth over that 10-year period that we've found, that people are really not only using us for transfers anymore, but they use us to move ideas. And we have other products that we recently acquired from a wonderful company called 53 in New York. They have a wonderful set of tools that we've also adopted into the WeTransfer family, including Paste, Paper, and Collect by WeTransfer as well. You can learn more about those on WeTransfer.com, but today I'm going to specifically speak to the transfer product. One thing that we really love to speak to is people, not users. And I think that, I imagine we all can relate to that. The empathy that an active listening will really deliver to a community. Having a wonderful team of UX researchers really allows us to speak to them on an empathetic level, understanding what their needs are, and also having a better way of communicating them through that active listening. So what we learn from years of listening and having this discussion with and dialogue with our users is that they need focus. And one thing that we know oftentimes marketers don't deliver is quiet or an opportunity to really focus with notifications, a busting inbox full of emails. There's so many ways that we can engage with a user, but oftentimes it's how we engage and the right time to engage is what's key. And so what we've learned, especially from listening to our audience, is that the right time is often better than too many times. So what becomes this friction point for us and was really interesting for us to consider is how do you market products without getting in a user's way. As we know, WeTransfer is a wonderful tool that tries to keep you in your flow in your creative process. So where are those moments that we can have those quality engagements? And there's 3 ways that we do that on WeTransfer. The first way is keeping you in your flow is with creativity. Our co-founder and chief creative officer, Damien Bradfield, said so beautifully was that people don't actually consider us that much of a presence. We actually have 95% of our site is actually someone else's brand that they engage with, and it's a wonderful way for us to think about how we can inspire someone through creativity. And we actually have a wonderful advertising background that sits behind the transfer window. As you can see here in this fun speaker advertisement that we did with a partner, there's so many ways to delight and not disrupt the user in this capacity. But we also use this to communicate our own messaging. So as you can see here, we did a new promotion to announce our launch or relaunch of Plus to Pro this past year, and we allowed this to be an opportunity for us to engage again with this audience in a delightful but again not disruptive manner. Another way that we do that with creativity is through our content platform called WePresent. And so when we're also trying to keep you in your flow, maybe there's times when you get stuck, you need a creative boost. And we have a wonderful platform called WePresent that allows you to have some spark of inspiration through wonderful editorial work that we do with our team based in Amsterdam, including this one. But also we do commissioned custom work with the likes of Bjork, as well as wonderful, innovative, disruptive creatives and artists around the world, which we believe is such a, again, fundamental way of supporting creativity. One of the biggest pieces that I'm the most excited about is, and what got me excited about this job, was a few years ago we did a creative call for gun reform. And so, as you know, or as many know, in Los Angeles, as well as the greater part of the US, where I recently came, at least from Los Angeles, gun reform is a huge issue. And so there's so many ways that we can think about how do we engage or activate our audience. And the Enough is Enough campaign and posters that WeTransfer created really allowed us to support that in a creative way. Lastly, we also did a global climate strike initiative as well, which allowed us again in the last week or so of September to support an initiative that is a global crisis. We all know that global warming is here, and it's something we all need to take a stand against and support in an initiative. And being a brand that supports that in a creative manner really allows us to, again, reinforce our audience through creativity. And so again, to recap, I think there's many ways that we try to spark creativity with our community through our wallpapers and then our content. And this, again, I think is allowing us to reinforce that supportive value of keeping you in your flow. Whether you're looking for inspiration or you're stuck or you're also just in the process of sharing your creativity with a client. Now on to the part that I focus on, the product marketing. There's a wonderful way of the way that we think about our products at WeTransfer is that we want to ensure that they're beautifully obvious tools. We don't, again, want to get in your way. We want to make sure that we keep you in your flow. And so one of the ways that we've done this is through our user research. We determined a few years ago that having a pro offering was actually an opportunity for us to offer more value. We have a number of creative professionals that really looked for an opportunity to share more, manage more, as well as have customization. There's so much that you can do with having your own profile and having a custom wallpaper that as you deliver content, it's a way for you to really own your brand. But as we know, as I can show you here, it's quite a simple tool to use already. WeTransfer really tries to stay out of your way. You can drag and drop anything and you're done. It's also quite a tense moment to maybe engage with a user. You may be on a tight deadline. You may be really anxious about a customer or a client's response. So there's many ways that we try to keep out of your space altogether in that moment. So that again becomes a friction point. How do we get people to convert, or how do we communicate with you about the value of our offering? And this is all about communicating at the right time. And so for us, after you've uploaded your creative next, maybe award-worthy creative, we then share with you the value of Pro. We show you contextually what the offering is, and hopefully give you more context as to maybe where the value would come in at that. In addition to, if you revisit the site, there's subtle but complementary user flow communication that we have that also shares with you through that experience the value of Pro as well. And so to reiterate, we really try to reinforce through our product marketing that we are a beautifully obvious tool that stands behind our values, that we don't get in your way of your flow, and we communicate at the right time, I think, which is really key. Again, in marketing, we know there's too many ways that we already communicate with you that can be disruptive. And then one way I think is extremely tricky for marketers today is how do we have a partnership that can be authentic? I think there's many ways that you can try to force a partnership all too many times. I think I see many smiles, so I imagine that on the other side of the computer people agree. And I think that that's something that, again, at WeTransfer, having values about keeping you in your flow and sparking creativity and having tools to move ideas, we needed to find a partnership that equally shared those same values as well. Every year we do an ideas report with our audience, which is a really exciting opportunity for us to better understand what will resonate, where they're stuck, where they're feeling inspired, and really understand, again, how to engage and how to communicate with them properly. And one way we really found one piece of information we found insightful in this process was actually that we all know too well we need quiet to be creative. We actually need silence. Again, put away your phone, no notifications, maybe you even need some Zen music. But that was something that we thought was really interesting. And we also found that we had that in common with another brand. And so we started off our partnership with Headspace. First in Los Angeles, we did a partnership to eliminate over $30 million of medical debt for those in the homeless population of Los Angeles, which was really a profound initiative, again, from Damien Bradfield. After moving from Los Angeles from Amsterdam, he saw that there was such an epidemic of homelessness, and actually medical debt was a big turning point for a lot of those in the homeless population. So what he saw was that we could partner with Headspace to eliminate some of that and hopefully maybe take away some of that mental capacity or mental weight that was coming from maybe some of that medical debt as well. And so with that, we also then decided to launch a campaign to offer a free year of Headspace to any new annual WeTransfer Pro user. And that really also allows us to then help you with your creative capacity to really create your bigger and better ideas. Because we all know you need a clear mind, you need time to focus, and there's many tools out there that can possibly offer you some added value, but we thought that the Headspace and WeTransfer collaboration really actually connected with that authentic value of focus on your craft and not your inbox. And so then to reiterate, I think there's so many ways that as marketers we still have this struggle of how to balance, right, the customer experience, but also by communicating properly the value of our product offerings. And by understanding and better identifying key moments when you can engage, we allow you to really have that strong bond with your customer and not maybe have them lean out, but lean in to listen to more of what you have to say. And then living your values. I think there's so much about being creative and being built by the creative community that we actually live very much in that every day. And from that, you can see we have a fanatical community that we've created.
Absolutely. And talking about your fanatical community, we've had a bunch of questions from them come in, so we'll touch them in a second. So that was really fascinating. So a couple of things that I picked up from there that I'd really like to dig into. using almost like a freemium type model as product marketing and just using education as a sales tool rather than sales as a sales tool.
Yep.
So can you talk a little bit more about that and like the education process you run to get people from standard into pro and all that sort of stuff and how that plays into your marketing strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined the team, and we actually just started a product marketing division early this year in April. So there hasn't really been a product marketing function in the company quite yet, more than brand. So there's many ways we're just starting to ramp up that educational component. A lot of it is through discovery or inquiry that we're seeing actually the conversion. But what I think we're really kind of at the point of really getting to kind of shift in that educational component is how that can be best discovered in that freemium model, if you will, or in our free model. So we do have a number of tool tips or ways that, through the funnel or through the process, you can see, if you reach a limit, if you get to a place where we think the pro offering benefit would actually add value to your experience, perhaps you want to actually have, again, to the progress panel's example of being able to see, download confirmation. Would you want a password protect your file? All of that information lives, somewhere within that experience of uploading a file.
That makes a lot of sense. I was going to point to you because in terms of education, you're the guy at the table who knows
Yes,
most
well, I was
about
going to chip in actually and comment about the premium against the free model because I'm not sure we mentioned earlier. My day job is I'm a co-founder of Smart Insights, and we're a publisher, a learning platform to help marketers create better strategies, create better plans, and grow their businesses. So we've been fortunate through organic search and being on top of that we get around 500,000 new visits every month, which is a fair amount for a business-to-business service. But we have exactly this issue of interruption, and I think it's quite a delicate balance to strike. Certainly, we've been successful through offering what we call our hero content, which is a guide to help marketers plan, because I think if you can get that real pain point where people want to learn how do I grow through a more planned approach, because our research shows many people don't have a plan. So we get good conversion on that. But what I wanted to mention is it's really a contrast to yours, is that often in business to business it's important to get leads. So of course you can speak to your audience, explain the proposition while helping them as well. So if you imagine we've got that 500,000 visits, then we might mention that free guide. But we've actually found that through being interruptive, through using light boxes, which I'm sure many people listening will say, no to light boxes, we've been successful. And I think as a co-founder, I held out against using those for some time, but my Stu Miller, the CEO, he persuaded me to run a test with a conversion rate agency we were doing, and we actually increased leads by 40% overnight by using light boxes. We think they're very good light boxes, and the value of not just getting a single report, but we bundle a number of reports in toolkits and templates that people can use. And we actually find that we do get a good conversion rate. So around half the people who see the light box provide their email, they go through the whole process. So I just wanted to provide another example, so I'm sure many of the listeners are in this situation. And just one final sort of snippet. I'm a big fan of A/B testing. I think you are as well, Chris. And we found that just small differences like providing testimonials about your reports and your insights, we did a test a couple of years ago. We got 10% more leads overnight just by testimonials, which was that more authentic customer voice saying, yeah, these guys know what they're talking about. So I hope that's helpful.
It really is. So like the 500,000 people coming to the site to learn about educational content, do you feel that it's a little bit easier to convert them because you're giving so much upfront and not asking for anything? Did you feel that's potentially part of it?
That's right. Well, I think it's it's that value proposition. If you take a look at our free membership form, we've really worked at A/B testing that and spelling out the benefits in terms of helping someone grow their business and help their individual career. So if you A/B test, and the creative side's quite interesting as well, because we've used a lot of imagery. We found cartoon imagery works quite well for us against, say, headshots or stock imagery, or even videos, or even myself. So certainly someone, showing the pain point by the frustration of someone in an office who doesn't know where to start with a plan, we've actually found that works better. And we've got Chris, our in-house designer, he's actually helped us grow by trialing those new creative approaches.
It's interesting. So I'll put this over to you then, because you're from the work that I've followed that you do online, very technical and very analytical in a lot of respects, but wrapped up in that kind of brand and marketing thing. So if we were to run things like A/B testing inside of product or inside of the site, do you have a particular approach for that, or is there a particular way you would look at doing that?
I think it depends what you're measuring and what the goal is. So a simple point in time registration is really easy to test for. Is that rate increased or not? If you're wanting to accompany someone through or take someone on a journey through the entire kind of funnel of the process, say your product life cycle stages move, it all comes down to tracking and understanding that, because when we talk about relationships and how is that relationship, how is that experience, it isn't just at that point of capture. It's that once they've consumed whatever it is, do they keep coming back? If you're on a subscription model, how long do you stay with the kind of product? WeTransfer, I guess you don't want people to even question or think about it afterwards because it becomes embedded and ingrained. But if you've got other products that are more stand up, take notice, do something differently at that point, how you measure the effects and retain the longevity of those is going to be wildly different. But if you're not measuring, and you're not, the temptation is always to err back to conversion rate, because it's really easy to see, and very often that gets attached to the bottom line, quite simply. And in some businesses, that's exactly what you need to do. But it's kind of similar overlaps. You mentioned kind of the separation from brand and product, but it comes back to the whole branding question. How long do you invest in that? How long is that long tail? And then can you detect them coming back, in attribution? Because ultimately there's going to be someone up there saying, where is it? Come on.
Well, talking about attribution and also different layers of kind of KPIs and things like that. I heard you mentioning conversion rate and things like that, but I imagine at different stages in that marketing funnel, whether it is educational and giving them a light box to fill in, or whether it's maybe make them sign up for a webinar or actually convert to product, those KPIs are perhaps quite different. Do you have a structure internally that you look at that you would maybe report to different levels? Are there different metrics that you care about over others?
Yes.
Can you maybe talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really interesting because fundamentally I'm a growth marketer by trade. So working in product marketing for a brand-first technology company is an actually really interesting place to be, because we have a strong awareness already. But when we think about KPIs, my KPIs come down to growth and really being able to increase conversion, page views, as you said, being able to understand the attribution model and what's working. We also test quite a bit with our growth team. The progress panel kind of tidbits or toolkit tips that we've shown, we actually ran an experiment on to actually better understand what works best, how to engage with users. So there's many ways that we also have that in our KPIs as well, around where are we seeing the best conversion, where are we seeing the most engagement, and we've allowed various tests like this to help us also better understand how to, better adapt those KPIs to growth and the bottom line. Because at the end of the day, yes, we definitely have people pointing to, where is this growth coming from? Where is the biggest potential? But we've also found through empathetic ways of communicating, whether it's frustration or at the end of your transfer, you have this delightful illustration of someone jumping on a trampoline, ways that we engage with the user can actually help in an empathetic way, can also help the bottom line. So balancing those two is really an interesting thing that I think WeTransfer does really well.
Yeah, that's fascinating. One of the things I was thinking of when you're talking about empathetic and trying to understand the customer as they're consuming what you're doing. So back to you, Dave, for a second. With 500,000 people coming in, for me, that's heavy weighs the crown. That's quite a lot of people to be dealing with. So when you were saying you're a bit nervous about putting light boxes up for data capture, that makes sense, because you're affecting the way 500,000 people potentially see you.
Yeah, they perceive you.
Is there preamble to that particular data capture actually happening? So is there things or sequences or triggers that happens before that? And with the work you've done with your conversion rate agency, was there any big, massive takeaways? You said the animations and things like that, which is a great one. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think I can talk about the measurement side as well, because I think actually the approach we use with Lightboxes is fairly standard. It can, we test what works in terms of number of seconds. We might reduce that from 10 to 5, or look at the mouse movement as someone's moving for the exit button, and we will optimize it, and we will serve different light boxes for different content, so you've got that relevance there, and that really works. But I think what I was going to mention is that in terms of the conversation, it's important to give a good first impression. And what I see often with email marketing, it's still very effective. You look at the latest benchmarks from the DMA. Open click rates are holding up surprisingly well. So that, but on average, they may be, say, 10% open, 2% click. Whereas that welcome email, that very first email you send out, is all important, because that's the first impression. So we put a lot of effort into that, and then you may get 50% open rate or double-digit click-through rate. So thinking about what you guys were saying about tracking, we're very careful, and we're called Smart Insight. We're all about the insight.
It's in the name.
We will track each individual email, because we'll send a sequence of 3, and we'll have the UTM tracking on each one, so you can see the impact of each stage. And then what we actually do is to tailor it by audience, because we do collect data. If you'll say a marketing manager or digital specialist or an SEO, you'll get different content from us via email or within the site. So I think if you are using that interruptive approach that we call it, and then you are doing the permission marketing, collecting data, you can then tailor it much better. And it works. We found when we moved from uncustomized emails to tailored by role or industry, it worked much better.
So
that's the theory, back to practice.
Back to the empathetic marketing, understanding the customer and giving them what they want. So like one of the things I was listening to in your presentation as well was finding like technical bugbears and things like that, and being empathetic through there. So like, Chris, see when you're looking at things from a technical marketing point of view, is there things that you split out from a technical performance point of view? So you'll crawl a site and you'll see these things need fixed. And is there other things that you say, well, these things need changed based on customer journey and things like that? And when you're consulting your clients, what's your starting point, and what kind of journey do you take them through?
I think that certainly from a client that's fresh is a question of what are you tracking to date, and very often it's not a lot, or sometimes it's what's Google Analytics. So actually the kind of the
Makes
data
me nervous when they say that one.
But the data you can kind of pick up, and is usually the data that you've got to generate and capture initially. So it's hopefully Tag Manager goes in, tracking buttons, tracking engagements, tracking scroll depth, even down to JavaScript errors and other technical issues. And there's a degree of, okay, well, let's start building these kind of segments in GA that can kind of profile people based on certain elements. So people that encounter JavaScript errors, does that impact conversion rate? Does that impact time on site? Where are they being generated the most? It's not just that, but an e-commerce retailer that only has a certain compliance or browser issue in a certain configuration of devices, you want to know if that's interfering with your cart process.
Absolutely. And Chris, I'm really sorry, I'll need to cut you off. I've been asked to wrap. The Chiefs at Moscow have spoken, and we need to move on. I'd like to thank very much Melanie Linehan for joining us, the Product Marketing Manager at WeTransfer, Dr. Dave Shafee, the co-founder of Smart Insights, and Chris Green, the Head of Marketing Innovation at Footprint Digital. Keep following along with the hashtag Global Marketing Day. Next, you're going to be seeing Fernando from Semrush, and I'm going to be leaving you for this leg of the London part. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference, and we'll see you shortly.